Hola everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Roxanne. If it's your first time here, then welcome. Today I want to tell you everything that I have read in the month of February. It's a lot, so I'm gonna zoom right past some of these really quickly. So there are some that I can talk about relatively quickly without diving too much into it. So I'll do those first, and then I will leave the ones that are a little bit more in depth for later. So I read volumes 8, 9, and 10 of Giant Days, and I actually have, I'm gonna show you. So it is this series. I have the first 7, and then I realized that, I still would like to collect all of these because I love this series so much. Each of them is 4 or 5 stars, but I think the cost for the amount of time you spend reading it, it's like you really got to think about it. So yeah, maybe if they do like a collection or something, I'll get after 7, but for now I'm going to continue to just read them on my phone through the library. And so this is the art style, if you're not familiar, and I love this so much. It's about 3 friends who are in college in the UK, and it's so funny. One of them is a queer character, and then yeah, it's just their years in college. They're so funny, they're so witty. Like, I will chuckle and laugh out loud a couple times. So this is just, they're very fun, they're entertaining, and I love them. They're sweet. I've grown to really care for the characters. Then I reread volume 1 and then read volume 2 of Attack on Titan, which is a manga series about these cannibalistic like giants is the only way that I can think about it. They're human-like, but they're giants and they eat humans, and it's about this community of people who have been able to protect themselves with these giant walls that they have built. And then one day a colossal one of these beings appears, and he's bigger than the wall, and he's able to break through the first. So they have like 3 sets of walls, each of them getting closer to the center, which is where they have like their government and everything like that. But they have 3 sets of walls just as to added protection. So the first wall comes down, and it's about everything that happens thereafter, and we follow Asta and Eren, which are our 2 main characters. Actually, I think I have the first here somewhere. Yeah, I have the first here. I got this, I think, as a present. But again, like these are each like $11, and it's such a quick read that I think I want to read the whole thing, and then if I really like it, I'll collect the whole thing. I love the anime as well. So yeah, Mikasa and Eren are our 2 main characters, and they choose to join the sort of core of individuals who fight these colossal things, these giant things, these titans. And yeah, so we follow them as they go through school, as they learn how to fight and defend their community, and I like it very much. It's very action-packed. I love the friendship between Mikasa and Eren, and I can't wait to continue to read that. And then another quick one that I can go through is a children's picture book called Planting Stories, The Life of Librarian and Storyteller Pura Belpré. She was the first Puerto Rican librarian in the New York Public Library system, and she migrated from Puerto Rico and started working in like a fabric warehouse or something like that, and then found her way into the library and found a job and began to create stories that she had heard back home, and they were bilingual, and then they were in Spanish, and then her programs began to expand, and now there is an award that is given out by I believe it's actually the New York Public Library system every year, I think, for youth Latinx stories, and it's called the Pura Verbre Award. So you might see that on the cover of some middle grades or young adults if you read that. And yeah, it was just very sweet. The artwork was absolutely beautiful, and I can't wait to own a physical copy. So the first is Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo. This is the first Bernardine Evaristo that I have. Look at this kid. He's so nosy. Let me show you. Galileo. What are you doing? I don't even know what he's looking at. This is the first Bernardine Evaristo that I have read. She won, I think she co-won the Booker Prize in 2019. And this is the story of 12 women in the UK and in the US also. I think one is in the US, one story, and it's about these 12 women, their stories and how they all interact. And it was a very ambitious novel, but I think it worked and I think it was successful. There are such a broad spectrum of personalities and women, and it really does a beautiful job of showing the breadth of what it is to be a Black woman, especially she takes it, you know, from the setting of someone in England. But I think it spans so many years and so many lives, and I thought the writing was beautiful. I felt like, you know, there was everything from women that you could dearly love and some that you would deeply dislike, but that's the humanity of it. And I think it was amazing. I completely felt compelled to learn about all of them and go back to each of them and continue to learn more and see how all of their lives connected. And I see why it has the hype that it has, for sure. I read Difficult Women by Roxane Gay, which is a short story collection centered around the theme of women who are deemed difficult. And this really just solidified for me that I really just don't get along with short story collections. I love essay collections, but short story collections are just not for me. I loved the writing. I mean, Roxane Gay's writing is amazing and I love it. And some of them I felt were very powerful, but I like my experience with many short story collections. There are some that I love, some that I'm just like I just kind of want to, all right, next. I wish more of them were not as tied to their relationship to men. I love stylistically some of the choices that she made and how metaphorical the stories were, but I think overall as a collection, me personally, I don't know if I should have taken more time in between each story. Probably would have made more of an impact on me, but I just don't like short story collections. I would rather spend much more time with one single story and have it expanded and really showcased to me and really be able to dig my toes into it rather than little snippets of different lives. I read Pride, a Pride and Prejudice remix by E.B. Zavoy. This is a young adult contemporary it's a Pride and Prejudice remix, so there's like the similar themes and you kind of see the parallels. You see the parallels between the two stories, but I think that this would have been a stronger story had it just been a YA contemporary without its ties to Pride and Prejudice. I think that really holds it back. I think it's way too short. I think the pacing was entirely too fast. I think you saw it trying to constantly sort of go back to that main sort of Pride and Prejudice line where it was trying to keep those parallels in place, and you saw those machinations and I didn't appreciate that. I don't think it did what Pride and Prejudice does, and I don't think it did what it could have done on its own much better, which is just have it be a YA contemporary love story that discusses themes of race and gentrification and fitting in and belonging and all of that. I think that had it done that instead of trying to sort of be like a YA, more approachable Pride and Prejudice, I think it held it back, and it was like a 3-star for me. I read Assata, an autobiography by Assata Shakur, and I loved this. I really, really enjoyed it. I ran out of tabs, which is really, really upsetting. But I highlighted a lot in here, and I foresee that I will go back to this. I think she had so many great things to say. I think you see how I saw this review, which I don't understand where they came from, where they say that she was a woman who wasn't very smart and just sort of was captivated by the intelligence of those around her and was easily swayed, and had she met other people with other beliefs, that that's what we would have seen her become. And I disagree. She tells you about the way that she was as a kid, how difficult the relationship she had with her mother, running away, finding her own, but really every step of the way you see that she's learning on her own, and she reads, and when she sees the faults in herself and she analyzes them and she tells them to you, and she really displays them out for you, and then tells you what she did to rectify it. She talks about the books that she read. She talks about the conversations that she had, the times in which she was made to look stupid because she would say something that she had heard but hadn't really researched on her own, and people kind of showed her up, and how she would rectify that going forward. I love that she is able to look back, and hindsight is 20/20, and she really does put that level on this autobiography. She puts that lens, and she looks back at her life and at the program she was involved with, and the Black Panther Party, and the people that she met, and she is critical of it. She loves the ideas and what they stood for, but she is able to see it in a way that she's able to see the cracks and see where it went wrong, and give suggestions for this many years later how could it have been better, how could it have improved. She puts a mirror up to the United States. She is absolutely not, she doesn't hold back on that, and I think when you understand her story, you understand why she feels the way that she feels, obviously. I think it's everything that she thinks and experiences is understandable, and it's very human, and I appreciated her story quite a lot. I read my very first Toni Morrison and was heartbroken. I read The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. This is a very, very difficult story about this young girl who is in a very abusive family. She's abused by her father. There is so much domestic abuse between her parents, and it is about the ways in which the idea of beauty is racialized. And this young girl is obsessed with getting blue eyes because she deems that to be the sort of pinnacle of beauty, and through that concept, Morrison takes us through family and race and class and gender, and the writing is beautiful. The way that she writes makes it so that everything is felt at a greater degree, I feel. So if it's something that's supposed to be beautiful, it's much more so. If it's something that's disgusting, it's repulsive. And so given the content of it, you can imagine the sort of emotions it evokes in you. So I think this is the type of story that you need to be in the right mindset for. I can't wait to continue to read more of Toni Morrison's catalog. I mean, she's fucking Toni Morrison. It's pretty short to get through, but I think it is one that you should take your time with and really digest, because there's a lot there. I also finished A People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn. This goes from the discovery of America to the first Clinton president. I think it's the first. Through. I think technically it says that it goes through to Clinton, but he does in different editions that have come out, there are that he has gone through and talks about like the George Bush and 9/11 and all of that. So, you know, Bush son and 9/11 and all that. So this was great. I see why so many teachers use it as a textbook. I think that's a great idea. What I appreciate is the point of view that he takes and through which he talks about history. You know, he does so very cognizant of the fact that history is many times written by the winners, and so he sort of flips that on his head, or tries to, and gives that to you from a different perspective, the perspectives that many of us don't get in school. There's a particular couple of lines that I think encapsulate what he was trying to do with this book. And it's when he's talking about Columbus and the way that he's written. And so I'll read a couple of things. So he says, one can lie outright about the past, or one can omit facts which might lead to unacceptable conclusions. Morrison, who is a writer who wrote this history book that was talking about Columbus, does neither. He refuses to lie about Columbus. He does not omit the story of mass murder. Indeed, he describes it with the harshest word one can use, genocide. But he does something else. He mentions the truth quickly and goes on to other things more important to him. Outright lying or quiet omission takes the risk of discovery which, when made, might arouse the reader to rebel against the writer. To state facts, however, and then to bury them in a mass of other information is to say to the reader with a certain infectious calm, yes, mass murder took place, but it's not that important. It should weigh very little in our final judgment. It should affect very little what we do in the world. To emphasize the heroism of Columbus and his successors as navigators and discoverers, and to de-emphasize their genocide, is not a technical necessity, but an ideological choice. It serves unwittingly to justify what was done. My point is not that we must, in telling history, accuse, judge, or condemn Columbus in absentia. It's too late for that. It would be a useless scholarly exercise in morality. But the easy acceptance of atrocities as a deplorable but necessary price to pay for progress, Hiroshima and Vietnam to save Western civilization, Hungary to save socialism, nuclear proliferation to save us all, that is still with us. So, yeah, he makes a very active effort to approach history in that way. He has acknowledged that he does miss the mark sometimes. Like, he doesn't really talk that much about Latinx movements or anything like that, or LGBTQ plus movements, and he does acknowledge that. And Galileo, in succeeding editions, he has tried to rectify that, but he also provides lists of books that you can read in addition to this, which obviously is great. This is a great sort of starting point for the history of the United States. He's not going to deep dive into every topic, because obviously that's, I mean, you can't do that, and despite how chunky this book might be. But I think this is a great way to give you a good overview, and then allow you to if things interest you and you want to learn more about them, to sort of know where to start from and have the context, and then deep dive into it with other books that would complement what he writes. I had a couple of audiobooks that I read as well. I read from Melissa Cole, Can't Escape Love, which is a novella from her. It's Reluctant Royals 2.6, and I gave that a 5 stars. That is a great novella about the creator of the Girls, I think it's Girls with Glasses. You see is like a nerdy blog that is seen a lot in the other main books of that series, and so it's about the creator of that and her love story. She is a disabled woman, and there is implications also of a it's never like it is talked about, but not like named. But the main male character is neurodiverse. And that was just, it was a cute little story. Then I read How to Catch a Queen, also by Alyssa Cole, which is the Runaway Rose #1, and I gave that a 3.75. I don't think it's as strong as the other ones. I see what people say about, they're unsure about why it's its own series as opposed to just being part of the Reluctant Royals, but I think it's called Runaway Rose for a very particular reason, which we see in the beginning of this book. So I guess that's just a different theme that she's trying to go with, but still stick with the, it's like a different sub-theme within that of Royals. And I mean, I enjoy her writing, and I enjoy the way that she makes her books diverse and they're fun and entertaining. But I think the main male protagonist was not very strong, and the antagonist kind of is just there. Nothing much happens there, and so I think overall, I feel like our main female protagonist is so strong that she, like, the male protagonist doesn't quite reach her level. And then I also read From the Desk of Zoe Washington by Janae Marks, and this is a middle grade mystery, and it's about our main character Zoe Washington, who is the book opens up on her birthday. She comes home to find a letter from her dad, who is in jail for having committed a murder. She's never spoken to him before, and so she's very surprised to receive this letter. She begins a secret relationship with her dad and is trying to prove his innocence. And it's fun, and I think it's so, the writing of Zoe was so age appropriate. You really see her growth, and it was just so sweet. I really enjoyed it. I highly recommend it. Middle grade March is coming up, so I would recommend it for that if you haven't already picked out what you would like to read. Those are the books that I read in February. I wanted to stick mostly to Black reads because it was Black History Month. I read every day. So technically it is actually still February 26th, but I don't think I'm gonna finish anything else. So I have read every day thus far except the 13th, and I will continue to read the rest of this month, I am certain. So yeah, I read a total of 15 books, and of those 15, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 were in my physical TBR, so a little bit less than 50%. But the majority of the ones that I didn't have physically on my shelves were graphic novels and manga. So not bad. I'm proud of myself. My March TBR is already up if you'd like to check that out. I also made a video suggesting books for Women's History Month, which is also in March. As always, thank you for watching and for listening. Let me know if you've read any of these and what you thought. As always, have a good one. Love you guys.